Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're gonna continue learning how to use the Tidyverse package in R to explore, to clean, and to transform a data set, all right? Now, this is what we're going to learn specifically from the Tidyverse, from the dplyr package, which is part of the Tidyverse. We're gonna learn all of these functions: select, filter, mutate, if else, and count. And from the stringr package, which is also part of the Tidyverse, we're gonna learn the string detect function. All right, perfect. Now, this video is a continuation of this other video, data wrangling, Caravaggio data set, video one. All right. Now, it's not mandatory for you to watch video one before watching this video. You will still learn just by watching this video. Okay. So that's fine. You don't need to watch video one necessarily. Now, for example, if you want to understand how I created the data frame in R that I'm going to be using in this video, then you need to watch video one, because in that video, I explain all the steps I took to kind of go from the CSV file with the raw data available on Kaggle to the data frame that I'm going to be using in this video, okay? But again, it's not mandatory to watch video one. Perfect. Let's jump into R. Um, the notebook that I'm going to be using in this video includes everything that I did in video one, okay? And as usual, I will post a link to this notebook in the video description, all right? So let us get started. We need to get started by loading the Tidyverse package, and you load the Tidyverse package or any package by using the library function, okay? So let's start by doing that. Let's load the Tidyverse package, and it's already loaded, all right? Perfect. Now, all of this, guys, all of this I already covered in video one, okay? So I'm not gonna cover this again. I'm just gonna jump to the video two section, okay? Um, Here we are. All right, just a reminder of what the data frame is about. Let's take a look at the data frame by using the head function, which will return the first 6 rows from the data frame. The data frame we're using in this video and also in video one, it's a data frame including data about paintings by Caravaggio. Okay, it includes actually. So let's find out the number of rows from that data frame. It includes 75 paintings, okay? So it includes data for 75 paintings by Caravaggio. What data? Well, the year where Caravaggio painted the painting, the title of the painting, the origin city, the current city, the destination city, the specific place of destination, so on and so forth, all right? So a bunch of information about Caravaggio's paintings. Perfect. In video one, okay, we explored, so we used the tidyverse to explore the year column, all right? In this video, we're going to focus on the origin city column, okay? All right, so what are we gonna do for the origin city column? Well, let's explore it, right? So when I'm exploring a column in a data set, the first thing I want to do is I want to check if there are missing values in the column, okay? I want to check for that, all right? And for that, we're going to use the select function and the is.na function. The same thing we did for the year column, all right? So let's find out if there are missing values, okay? And for that, we're going to use this piece of code, all right? So let's try to understand this, which again, this is exactly the same thing we did for the year column. So here, what we are saying is, okay, so notice that we're using pipe operations, okay? These are the pipe operator. So we are saying from this data frame, select only that column, okay? So only select the origin city column, and then to that column, apply this function, the is.na function. Is.na function will return true if the row has missing value, missing data, and it will return false if the row does not have missing data, meaning like if there is a value in the row, okay? So is NA will be true if the row has missing data, meaning like if the row is blank, okay, so there's no data in the row, and is NA will return false if the row has data in it, all right? And um, and then after that, what I do here is I apply the sum function because I actually want to count. Okay, I'm interested in counting how many missing data there are in that column. Okay, so because when you apply sum, what is going to happen is that you're going to end up adding the true values. Okay, so when you add all the true values, the number of true values, you get a count of how many true values there are in that column. Okay. All right, so let's execute that code cell, and then we get a 5. So that means that there are 5 rows or 5 paintings with missing data for the origin city. Okay. Knowing that, I usually want to now know specifically what are the paintings with the missing or with a missing origin city. You know what I mean? So I want to know this painting. So what are the paintings um, that are missing the origin city? Okay, if I had like dozens or hundreds of missing values, I cannot do that. Okay, but since I only have 5, I'm curious to know what are the paintings with this problem. Okay, and for that we're going to use the filter function, guys. Okay, we are going to use the filter function. Again, this is exactly the same thing we did with the year column in video 1. Okay. All right, so I'm going to say from the data frame, apply the filter function using this Boolean condition. So remember that the filter function takes as an argument a Boolean condition, okay? And it will keep in the output the rows for which the Boolean condition is true, and it will exclude from the outcome the rows for which the Boolean condition is false, okay? And what is the Boolean condition? It's just this, is dot NA applied to the origin city, okay? And so is dot NA applied to the origin city, again, that will return true when origin city is missing, and it's gonna return false otherwise, okay? So at the end of the day, so we're gonna filter only the rows for which origin city is NA or missing, okay? And then we should see 5 paintings here. And sure enough, we see 5 paintings, and we confirm that for these five paintings, we don't have an origin city, okay? Perfect. What do we do next? So do we just leave it like this, okay? Well, I guess we can, but I think as a best practice in data analytics, you should try, and this is only an attempt, okay? You should try to find out if it is possible, to find the missing city for some of these paintings. Like, can I do a research somewhere and find out the origin city for these paintings, okay? And that's exactly what I did. This is what happens, guys. I created the original data frame. So the original, not data frame, data set. The original data set CSV file available on Kaggle, I created it myself from a book. So I read a book about Caravaggio and I created that data set, okay? And what I did was, in this case, I went back to the book and reread the book to see if the author mentioned anything about the origin city for any of these 5 paintings, okay? And this is what I found out. The author does not have a clear idea about the origin city for 4 out of the 5 paintings, okay? So 4 out of these 5 paintings, we don't have good data about what is the origin city, okay? However, for this painting, for the Annunciation, the author mentions that he is pretty convinced, okay? Not 100%, but it's pretty convinced that the city of origin for the Annunciation was Messina in Italy, okay? So based on that, what I did was, okay, so it makes sense then to replace the missing value for origin city by Messina for that painting, okay? And again, what I just did there is kind of a good practice. So whenever you have missing data, you need to try your best to find the missing value if possible, okay? And if you cannot find it, we can always talk about imputation, okay? But imputation is another beast, okay? That's for another video. But anyway, so in this case, I was able to find out a good value to replace for the missing value for Orient City for that painting, and that's what I'm going to do right now, okay? And for that, we are going to use the mutate and the if-else functions, okay? By the way, this text right here is just explaining my research, okay? How I went back to the book and everything, all right? All right, so let's use mutate and if-else to impute the value of Messina in that um, for that painting, all right? All right, guys, so here's the code. Here's the code. So first, remember, I mentioned this in video one. Whenever you're using mutate, if you want the result from mutate to be permanent, okay, you need to assign back the output, the output from mutate, you need to assign it back to the data frame. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm assigning, this is the assignment operator, I am assigning back the results from mutate back to the data frame, all right? Perfect. Knowing that, let's just focus on this now. What are we doing there? So we are saying, all right, so use that data frame and apply mutate, okay? And then what do you want to mutate? Well, we want to mutate the origin city. Now, how do you want to mutate the origin city? Well, I want to mutate the origin city based on the logic behind this if-else condition, okay? So I want to mutate the origin city based on the logic behind that if-else condition. Remember that this function, if else, takes three arguments. A Boolean condition, that's the Boolean condition. What you want to return when the Boolean condition is true, that's what I want to return when the Boolean condition is true, and what you want to return when the Boolean condition is false, okay? So how do we read this? So this is what we want to do. I want origin city to be equal to Messina. So I want origin city to take the value of Messina when this is true. When the title of the painting is the Annunciation. Okay, so when that is true, I want Messina to be assigned to origin city. Else, otherwise, so if this is not true, okay, which is for every other paintings, when this is not true, I want the origin city just to be equal to the untouched origin city, okay? So when the Boolean condition is false, I just want origin city to remain origin city, okay? All right, so let's execute that code cell, and then after that, let's go ahead and check that. Let's check that for that painting, the origin city now is Messina, okay? And for that, we're going to use the filter function. We're going to say from that data frame, filter only the rows where this condition is true. Obviously, that is going to give me only that painting, okay? And then after that, we're going to be able to check for the origin city. And sure enough, for that painting, now we see that the origin city is Messina. So our change took place successfully, okay? Great. All right, so that's just a few things you can do around missing values. Okay, let's do one more thing for the origin city column, and that is I want to obtain a list with the different values taken by origin city and their frequencies. Okay, I want to obtain a list of the different values taken by origin city and their frequency. That's something that you should do. It's kind of a good practice whenever you have a categorical column. So whenever you are exploring a categorical column for the first time, and that's what we're doing, you should do this. You should get a list with the different values taken by the column and their frequency, okay? And for that, we're going to use the super useful function count, okay? So we're going to say from that data frame, count origin city, and sure enough, that will give us a list with all the different cities and their frequency, okay? So these are the frequencies, 1, 2, 9, all right? Now, before we interpret this output, I want to do two things, okay? That's what I'm saying right here. I want to fix this output a little bit, okay? Let's say you don't like the name of this column, N. which I don't like, by the way. It's kind of a little bit ambiguous. What does n mean? All right. I guess if you are some training in statistics, you might figure out what n means. But anyway, so maybe you want a better name for this column, right? Actually, I want to call it count. Okay. So I want to explicitly call it count. Okay. I'm going to show you how to do that. And also, let's say you want to sort the results by count in ascending order. Okay. Let's do that, shall we? And then after that, we're going to interpret this output. So let's do that right here. So let's use that data frame. And let's say I want to apply count, all right, the count function to what specific column? Origin city, right? Origin city, there you go. Now, to change the name of the column, all you have to use is to invoke the name parameter. So the count function has a parameter called name that allows you to just, use whatever name you want, okay? And the name that I want is count, okay? And let's check. Sure enough, now you see count, okay? And of course, you can use any name that you want. You can call this num of observations if you want, whatever name you want, okay? Number of observations, so whatever name you want, okay? But again, I think count is a good name, all right, for that column. Perfect. Now let's sort it, right? How do we sort it? Well, to sort, we're going to use a function that we have not used yet in any of these two videos, and that function is arrange. So whenever you are working with the tidyverse and you want to arrange or sort, okay, whenever you want to sort the results in ascending or descending order based on the values of a given column, you are going to invoke the function range, okay? And then the argument you need to pass is, what column you want to use to sort the results. And the column we want to use to sort the result is count. So we're gonna just type in count. And sure enough, we get the results sorted by count in ascending order, okay? All right, guys, so I'm gonna give you 10 seconds. So pause the video for 10 seconds and take a look at that output and just try to find things, interesting things. What do you see that is, that catches your eye, all right? All right, so I'll pause the video for 10 seconds, all right? Go. All right, so what did you see? What did you see? Well, you know, everyone sees different things, but I saw a few things, all right, which I wrote here for you. The first thing is that I noticed that, the artist Caravaggio created most of his paintings in Rome. 50, 50 paintings were created in Rome. So 50 out of 75, that's going to be like two-thirds. So two-thirds of the paintings created in Rome. That's, worth mentioning. That gives you information about the data set, all right? Um, Another thing that I see is this, two paintings show two cities as the origin city. That's a strange, right? Rome and Naples. What's going on? So two paintings have that issue. Let's call it issue in principle. Okay, Rome and Naples. What's going on? Well, when you go to the original book, that's what I did. I went to the original book. I used to create the data set, and the thing is, the author or researchers, Caravaggio researchers, they just don't know for these two paintings whether he painted them in Rome or Naples. So they know he painted the paintings in either Rome or Naples, but they cannot decide. Okay, they cannot pinpoint those two paintings to one city. So that's why here for those two paintings we see two possible cities, Rome or Naples. Okay, and basically there is nothing we can do in that regard. Okay. Um, all right. So another thing that I see, and that's what I mentioned in part C here, is that for some cities, we see not only the city, but also a reference to Sicily is an island. So we see Palermo is the city, and then Sicily, the island where Palermo is in. And then the same thing, Syracuse, Sicily, and Messina, Sicily. But we don't want that, We only want the city. So we should get rid of this Sicily. Okay, we should get rid of Sicily. So whenever we see Sicily, we should get rid of Sicily. Okay, we only want the plain city. How do we do that? Well, we are going to use a few functions, guys. So that's what we're going to do right now. Let's work on C and get rid of Sicily. So we're going to use mutate and if else again. And then we're going to use from stringr, which again, stringr is another package from the tidyverse. We're going to use string detect, and we're going to use the sub function. But the sub function does not belong to the tidyverse. It belongs to the base R installation. Okay, perfect. Before we do that, let me kind of explain what we're going to do. So we're going to use all of these functions. Okay, we're going to use all of these functions to do the following. We want to tell R, hey, whenever explore origin city. Explore origin city. Whenever you find the word Sicily, okay? So explore origin city, and whenever you find the word Sicily, okay? Remove everything from the comma and after, okay? Anything from the comma and after, okay? So that's what we want to tell to R using code, okay? So whenever you find the word Sicily, remove everything from the comma and after. And that's exactly what we want, because if we do that, if we remove everything from the comma and after, we end up with Palermo. If we remove everything from comma and after, we end up with Syracuse. Okay, so that's what we want. All right. How do we do that? Okay, let's take a look. This is the code that we can use to do that. Okay. The first part, again, guys, is only assigning. Whenever you use mutate, you need to assign back the results to the data frame if you want the results to be permanent. Okay. All right, but what are we doing here? So we're saying from the data frame, apply mutate to the origin city. How do you want to apply mutate? I want to apply mutate by following the logic in this if else condition. That if else condition takes three arguments, okay? So the Boolean condition, that's a Boolean condition. What I want to return or what I want to happen when the Boolean condition, let me move this here. This is what I want to happen when the Boolean condition is true, okay? That's what I want to happen when the Boolean condition is true, okay? And what I want to happen when the Boolean condition is false, okay? So one more time, Boolean condition, that right there, okay? This is what I want to happen when the Boolean condition is true. And this is what I want to happen when the Boolean condition is false. So let's break this down. So what is the Boolean condition? Boolean condition is very straightforward to understand, right? String detect in origin city, Sicily. What is that telling us? Try to detect in the origin city the word Sicily, okay? So this is going to return true, guys. That condition is going to return true whenever the word Sicily is found in the origin city column, okay? That is going to return true whenever the word Sicily is found in the origin city column. When that is true, what do we want to do? When that is true, this is what we want to do. We want to apply sub. Sub means substitution. It's short for substitution. And this is the way it works. I wrote this here for you. That's the way sub works. So sub finds a pattern. It finds the replacement, the substitution for the pattern. It finds a pattern, it finds the substitution for the pattern, and then the string is where do you want to apply sub? So in what column you are applying sub, okay? So let's go back here. Sub. The first argument is this. The first argument is the pattern. What is the pattern? Well, here we're saying find a comma and any character after the comma. So this is the way that we can use code by to tell R find the comma and anything after the comma. Okay, what are we doing here? So here we're using two special characters, guys. So the comma is just a comma. Okay, just the character, the comma character, but the dot and the asterisk are special characters that, well, they are special characters if you use them in functions that belong to a stringr package. So string detect is a function that belongs to a stringr package. So in that context, okay, the dot and the asterisk are special characters, and what they mean is this. So the dot means any character. So you are saying after the comma, any character, that's what the dot means, any character. And the asterisk means repeated any number of times. Okay. So in combination, when you combine, the dot and the asterisk, that means after the comma, any character repeated any number of times. So whenever you find a comma, basically you say whenever you find a comma followed by anything, okay? That's the best way to describe this. So whenever you find a comma followed by anything, by any character repeated any number of times, okay? So anything that you find from the comma and on, this is what you want to do. You want to replace it, that's a replacement. You want to replace it with an empty string. So what happens when you replace a character by an empty string? You are removing the character. So if you replace a character by an empty string, you are effectively removing the character, okay? So that's what we want to do. So whenever we find a comma followed by anything, we want to delete it, and when we do that by replacing that by an empty string, okay? And this origin city means that we are applying the sub function to the origin city, okay? Okay, that's what happens when this is true. So when Sicily is found in origin city, we want that to happen. But if we don't find Sicily, what do we want to do? Well, if we don't find Sicily, we want origin city just to be equal to origin city. So when Sicily is not found, we just want origin city to be left alone. Okay, so just keep origin city untouched. Okay. All right, guys. So let's execute this and see if it works, right? And to confirm that it worked, we should kind of repeat this count again, right? We should repeat this count again, and now we should see something different. And sure enough, now we see Palermo by itself, not Sicily anymore. We see Syracuse by itself, not Sicily anymore. And we see Messina 3 times, which makes sense because here initially we have Messina by itself once, and then Messina, Sicily 2 times. So we combine them, and then we get Messina 3 times, okay? All right, guys, so that works. That works. And yeah, that's all. That's all I wanted to cover in this video, okay? So we cover a few things. So I show you how to use some functions from Tidyverse to explore, clean, and transform one column from a data frame, okay? One column from a data frame. And the functions that we saw where I show you how to use select to select one specific column, like when we selected the origin city to find the missing values. We use filter when we want to filter certain rows only, like when we wanted to select only the rows with missing values. So filter is to filter by rows. Select is to filter by columns. All right. Mutate is when we want to change the values of one column. If else allow us to change the values of a column based on a um, um, Boolean condition, okay? And we also saw count to obtain a list with all the possible values taken by a column and their frequency, okay? And we also saw string detect to detect one specific character, in this case, the word Sicily, okay? And then based on that, we trigger the sub function, okay? So based on string detect, we trigger the sub function, and again, the sub function means substitution. So we want to substitute a pattern by a replacement, okay? All right, guys, so this is not the last video I'm going to do about this data frame. I'm gonna probably do a couple of more videos, and what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to show you different functions in the upcoming videos, okay? I'm talking about Tidyverse functions, okay? But I'm gonna try to show you a few new functions, okay? All right, guys, so that's all for this video. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in another video. Bye, guys.